This is an amazing masterclass. This is one of the ones that you guys requested. Have a little look at what we're going to be doing. So I'm working with the peekaboos. Now I know we've done loads with our edgeable designs before, but these are our peekaboo edgeables. It's 5.5 in both directions, and that's our kind of base card ready to work from. We've got the Scoremaster and Envelope box on the show today, by the way. Any of you have been thinking, waiting for us to have it on again to go for it. Now, what I'm going to do, very simply, very first one, is I'm going to just get in the little elephant and I'm going to stamp him on the front first. So you can see there, you're going to take your little elephant and we're going to have the front of the elephant peeking through the front. So if I just find myself, it's some rocker block. I'm going to pop it on the rocker block. It's up to you if you want to stamp with the rocker block or whatever it is you want to work with. And because I'm going to use the alcohol pens, I must make sure, she says fishing through all of her ink pads over here, yes, here we go. Must make sure that you've got the alcohol proof die to work with, okay? So I'm going to use the alcohol proof die and I'm just going to stamp, and I'm going to stamp this little character on the front. So just wherever you want, I'm going to pop him on the front there. And there's my little elephant. Here we go now. Then you've got the little cut around. So what you do is you take this and pop this as a cut around on there. So that goes on the top and you're going to hold it in place with a little bit of tape. So around we go. Just got that little bit of tape on there. Notice I'm sticking the tape on the bit that's going to come away from the card. Now if this was for a baby, you could also take the letters and put the word baby on there. Look at that, I've pulled my tape away with it. Everything I was trying not to do. Here we go. Oh, come on, right, there we go. So you're going to take the baby and you're just going to try and line it up roughly with the edge there. It doesn't matter if it's not exact, but we're going to line up where it says baby. And again, I'm going to hold that in place with a little bit of tape. And then make sure you open the card out. And we're going to pop this through the Gemini. So I've got my Junior today. We're going to pop that on first, and then we're going to go with your clear cutting plate, your magnetic, then your top cutting plate, and we're going to send that through the machine. There's my baby, and then there's my little elephant as well, right? And then what you're going to do is you're going to come in with your craft knife, and you're going to join up. Can you see here? You can see where those lines, you're going to join them together. So I'm just going to join that together here. And then I'm going to take this off the end and I'm going to take this off to this end here as well. So there we go. So then that takes away, leaves the baby and the elephant in, and you're going to bring in just a little pair of scissors and we're going to cut down the side here. All right. So that completely comes away, which gives us all of the design on the front of our card. How cute's that? Then the last thing you need to do, Joe, is where we've got the back of the elephant, we're going to pull this out. We're going to get the back side of our elephant and we're going to stick the back side on there as well. So we're just going to pop this one on here and I'm going to just line up, and the stamps will all line up perfectly. They're all designed to be like a front and back side on the stamp. So that's going to go into the gap there and you're just going to stamp the back of the elephant in the gap there as well. So there's his little bum and you had the design from the front. How super cute is that? And then I'm just going to start and do a little bit of colouring. I'm doing my little elephant. So what I've done is I'm doing the back of him first. So I've just gone down, first of all, with the darkest shade. Then I'm cutting to the medium, then to the light. Now, tri-blends, honestly, if you're doing little stamps like this, there is literally not a better set of pens that you could use because they're just little cute animals to colour. You just want to keep your colouring simple. It's very simple imagery. So look at that, just done that really easily, but he looks like he's very, very rounded in 3D. Let me show you again on his face, okay? So I'm going to do the, and obviously it's going to come through because it's alcohol pen. So we're going to just open this up and I'm going to go again with the dark one. So we're going to come round the top of his head and round his face so that he can be really, really three-dimensional. Right? And I'm not doing his ears because his ears are going to be pink. And we're going to go dark into the medium. So we're just colouring where the dark ends and into the start of the next one. And then the same on his little feet. And then we're going to go from the medium into the lightest shade and it will just do all of that perfect blending for you. So you get a really, truly three-dimensional finish to it. So I'm going round the end with my grey And then just in his ears, I'm going to use the pale pinks, so the PPs, and I'm going to come down with the darkest one, first of all. And even though we're working over top of the grey, it's still going to be fine.
Do you need to worry about it bleeding through, is what Vicky's asking?
No, so that's what I'm saying there. Can you see it's come through a little bit here? I'm obviously, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it over with another piece of card, you see. And it doesn't matter on the top bit because we've got an elephant on the top and the back. So you see he's coloured in on the front and he's coloured in on the back. And I just think he's super simple and cute. And then what I've done is, you see, is I've just cut a piece of card exactly the right size to fit over there so that you won't see the fact that it's bled through a little bit here. And this card here, Joe, is like what I consider to be the simplest way to use all of these stamps. They're really super cute and easy. Now, if you didn't want to put a piece of card on, what you would do is instead of colouring directly onto your card, you would colour onto another piece of card and use them over the top. Now, I think that looks all right. Look, and I've got a nice piece of card to go on the inside as well. And all I've done is just printed out some, got some printed papers and then matted and layered them onto a little bit of cardstock. So it gives me that lovely backing piece. But I've got a nice little tip for you. Let me just get this one on first, Joe. Yep, so once that's on, so here we go. That, I think you can't really see that baby. However, if you cut it again onto another piece of coloured cardstock, right? So I've done mine onto a mirror card and I've run it through the Xyron for speed. Watch what happens. You've got the baby, you stick that over the top and then immediately that makes it completely stand out, doesn't it? That baby, what a difference it makes just adding that on there. And then what I've done is I've just done some simple sentiments. I've got for a special, and then for a special baby, and then hello, cute girl. Look at that one there, right? But how super quick and simple was that card? But it's just, I'm starting off, the idea with the masterclass is we're going to start off here and we're going to get higher and higher as we go through the masterclass. So I've started with the very, very basics of how to use it in the front of a card. Now I'm going to get ready to do my next one, Joe, as an aperture. I'm going to show you pretty much exactly the same card, but this time we're going to do it with a window instead. So I thought you can do this one either tent fold or side fold. I've already cut the cardstock down this time. So it's just cut to a base, and this one was from A4. So I've just cut it to like 5 3/4, 5 7/8 roughly square. I'm going to do exactly the same as what we just did before, Joe. So you're going to start off with your rocker block or your stamping block or whatever it is you're using. And I'm going to stamp off my little giraffe, the front of my giraffe, first of all. Again, you're going to be wanting to use that alcohol-proof dye because we're going to be doing all of our colouring. So I'm going to put him quite in the middle-ish. Yep, there he goes, right? And then I'm going to take that dye and I'm going to pop the dye over top of him. Come on, little giraffe. And a little bit of tape. Make sure you're using tape for all of this, by the way. You don't want to be knocking this. So there is my little giraffe there, just going to catch his little, what do you call them on top of the giraffe? They're not antlers and they're not antennae. I wonder what they are. And this one comes with wild, so you can either use the sentiment from the set or you can interchange it with a different one. Yeah. So I'm going to use the wild there and I'm going to do exactly the same. Just make sure these two dies don't go over top of each other, but you're going to hold that in place. Then you're going to use that set of 2 dies. So I'm going to do this one with the square dies. What I love about these is they're obviously designed to work exactly with these products, but you're going to use them with all of your word edgeables. We're going to take this, we're going to go over the top. Look, I haven't quite got it in the middle. Well, but you know, it's going to be unique. It's going to be a Sara original made live on air, right? So all you do is you get this all lined up and we stick that inside. Let's get me little, I'm just going to make sure, let's have a look, can you see all of these where you just need to make sure they're connected? I'm going to connect you on there and I'm going to connect you down here. And I think, oh, you are almost connected there. So now you can see how that works. It takes away all the extra, you see. So we can do that. Now for this one, let's have a look. I'm going to stamp the back of the giraffe as well. And then do some colouring in. But I also thought we'd do, because it was a little bit wild, I thought we'd do a little bit of stenciling on the front one, just for a little bit of something different. So I was having a look through the stencil collection, and we've got those, you know, the 3-layer stencils that we do, but they're quite nice. By the way, we're coming in for I'm going to go straight over, and you're going to get a root shot here.
Still looking great.
They're still looking all right, are they? They're not brilliant, are they not? The hairdressers is apparently opening soon, so you haven't got to suffer me roots much longer. Look at that. That, Joe, is what we call stamping perfection. We're going in for the zoom, we're going in for the close-up, and then if we have a little look at the front, you can see that front one's perfect as well. Isn't that lovely, right? So let's have a look. I've got my stencil. It's this one here. So I haven't used the rose. I'm just going to use the background stencil. And when you're using your stencils, you want a little bit of stick and spray on it. So all I'm going to do is give it a bit of a shake and then put the stencil behind me and just spray a little bit so that you've got just a little bit on here. And then that's going to go on back onto my card. Let's have a look. I'm going to do a little bit at a time. Let's have a look. Should we do the bottom bit first? Yeah. So I'll do this little bit and then hopefully line it back up to do the top bit. Now look at this, because they're blendable. Look, I'm just blending that perfectly in. And then what you can do is, you see, that lifts off there. There's my fabulous background, but then I need to finish it off up here. So I'm just going to match that in. There and there, we are matched in perfectly. Yep. And then I can pick up and do the rest where we left off. I'll fold this in half so that we don't go over the edge. And we can do the rest on the top where we kind of left off. Isn't that looking, oh, I've moved it, Joe. Tell you what, sometimes less haste, more speed. So you've got a little bit of a hint of the lighter colour. And then I'm coming in with the darker colour. So I'm using the grasshopper and pine here. But it's, I mean, this technique's going to work with all of them, isn't it? Looks really, really good. Get that blended in there. And then I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to come and colour my lovely little giraffe in. So there's my background nice and done. And I think it's just a little bit nicer than doing like a patterned paper all the time. I've got a patterned paper to go in the inside. So I'll pop this one on the inside and then I'll do a little bit of colouring. Right, Joe, I've stopped colouring my giraffe here.
He's got a bare bottom.
He's got a bare bottom. Well, the problem is, well, look, I'll colour it and let it go through, right? Hang on, these are the golden yellows and I was using the golden browns, right? I'll colour it and then we'll colour it over. Oh, I was using the yellows. Got too many pens out, Joe. You see, this is why it's so much easier if you work with your tri-blends, because literally you've got everything in one go, right? So one, and then I'm going to do these darker spots on here. And then I'll put a little gem over the top. I'm being a little bit lazy here, Joe. What I should do, really, those of you who like to get this all perfect, is I should really start with a stamp a separate one and cut it out and stick it over the top. And then you wouldn't have to worry. I mean, it's only come through a tiny little bit. I mean, what's that between friends? No one's going to notice that. Right, so I'm going to just pop these down here. And I ran these through the Zyra and I forgot to take off all the extra little pieces. I should have, if you ever want to avoid this, by the way, all these extra bits of glue, all you're going to do is when you run it through your Zyron, before you peel it off, because it's rub and peel technology, just send it through your machine. And then look, I'm just going to pop a little gem on there. So there's that one there. And then we've got that on the side. And again, that wild just looks all right, but only all right. However, soon as you take the letters and cut them out of a corresponding colour and line them up, look how much more that whole thing stands out. I just think it looks so much more professional. Really makes it pop and stand off there. So
always like being in I feel like I'm in a savannah all of a sudden or something like that.
I like it. You know, I loved it when we took the kids to the, it was like a lovely wildlife park that we took them to in the Lake District to learn about all the animals, and they went and we all fed the giraffes. It was lovely. Why don't we do an envelope box to put our design in the envelope box? Yeah? That'll be pretty cute, won't it? Right, so we've got the envelope box creator on the show, and I'm going to do the envelope box and cut the little, I've got the little puppy, so I'm going to cut the little puppy design into the front of the envelope box, okay? So here's my little puppy ready to go, and I'm going to use that little, the little archway so that we can cut it away. So let me just make sure, let's have a look at this, right? So this is 4.5 inches. So I want to be making sure my envelope box is at least 5 inches wide, so that we've got a little bit of a gap at both sides. In fact, should we just go 5 by 5? I think a 5 by 5, maybe it's a 5 by 4. Yeah, and maybe it's a 5x4, be lovely. That'll just sit in there nicely with my little cutaway piece. Right, 5x4. And how deep do we want the envelope box to be? Should I do, I mean, we can do a whole inch if we want. Should I do half an inch? Yeah? So in the envelope box instructions, right, you've got all the instructions first of all, but then you've got all of these grids. So you've got them in millimetres, then you've got them in inches. So here's your flat envelope instructions. Here's your ones for half an inch. You've got ones for 3/4 and ones for an inch. So I'm going to do a half an inch one. So you turn over onto the half inch. Now I know this looks very overwhelming, right? However, it's really not when you break it down like this, okay? We said we wanted to go 5 inches wide. So we come and we put this down the 5 inches, right? And then we said we wanted it to be 5 inches by what? I think I said, did I say 5x4 or did I say 5x5? Right, so if I said 5x4, it tells me for a 5x4 half an inch envelope box, we're looking in this corner here. So 7.5 inch square cardstock is what we want to be doing. So what I do is, I'll get my guillotine out. 7.5 inches, we're just going to pop this in and we're going to cut this to 7.5 inches wide. It's very important to be mega accurate with these, okay? So it's only going to work if you've got them, if you follow the sizes exactly that I've said. So 7.5 inches, so it's going to cut perfectly from that lovely Centura pearl that we've got, and this is the double-sided Centura pearl. Now, let's just go and remind ourselves. So we said 5x4. Did I really say that? 5x4. 5 inches wide by 4 inches deep. Yes, I did. We're all good. That's going to fit lovely. So it was the 7.5, and it said lines D and F. And it says up here, use position 1 and 2. So let me show you what that means. So D and F. So we'll do D first. These are positions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to come into here, right? And we're going to do D. So position 1 and D, then into position 2 and do D again, all right? Turn it round, do the opposite side. So we're going back into here, we're going to go D, and then we're going to go into the next step and do D again. And then the other line, what was it, D and F? Yep, so then we're going to come to the other one. And what you'll see is the F crosses that D line. So it crosses it in position 1, and it crosses it again in position 2. So there's all of our scoring done there. So D on 2 lines, F on the other 2. And then before we assemble it together, we're going to do our die cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my little archway on here. So can you see we're going to get that roughly lined up on the inside, and I'm going to use my tape, which I have temporarily put in a very safe spot, like, oh, Joe, where have I put my tape? Am I looking at it? Here it is, down here. Right, see, this is what happens. I get a bit carried away. I've tried to tidy up a little bit. So that I've just lined up perfectly in the middle. So if I had one of my Tiffany organisers, I'd just have it right there, wouldn't I, Joe? And then I'm going to stamp. So we've got the little doggy, and I'm going to stamp my little doggy, and I'm going to stamp the word friend. And I could send this to my friend who had a little doggy. And you see, you just line all of these dies up next to each other. So that is going to line up there. And I'm going to just use that. So that's all lined up perfectly. That's stuck down here. And I'm hoping this inspires you to realise your peekaboos don't just have to be for cards now. Isn't it nice to do something a little bit different with them? Right, so just make sure none of those dies are over top of each other. Yep, I think that's just a tiny little bit on the close side for comfort, that. So I'm just going to drop it down a little bit further. Yeah, you can always trim them a little bit to make sense. There we go. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to just bring in my cutting plate. So obviously you're going to need the large Gemini for this, because for all the small dies we're cutting a big envelope box. You're going to go cutting plate, clear, magnetic, top plate, and then that'll do all of the die cutting. Right, so there we go. We lift all of these out. And this is when you just want to come in with your little bit of a knife and just make sure you've nicked all of those edges perfectly and just got them all connected up, and then that will lift out. And there's my little feline friend in there, and I'm going to stamp the front of him. Now we don't need to worry about the back because you won't see the back inside the envelope, so you could stamp the front. Oh, because it's an envelope, how about we stamp the back and pretend that he's looking in to see what's in the envelope? That's a cute idea. I'm just going to mask off the bottom of my envelope in case he comes down a little bit further. There we go, you see. I love it when a plan comes together, Joe. So I'm going to take that. We're going for that dodgy headshot again. There we go, you've got it. There we go, straight down. Oh, and then just making sure I've just covered over the end a little bit there so that we haven't covered over the edge. So we've just covered in my little cutie character dog there. So he's just stamped perfectly on there. I will, just to give that a little bit of time to dry, I've got a piece of acetate. So I'll just make sure my acetate is just cut to slightly smaller than this so that we can stick it inside. So there we go, there's one. And then there's the other side. Now my top tip, if you're working with acetate, the best thing you can use to stick it down is the red liner tape. So I think we've got some back in stock on the website. So if you want to make sure your acetate is very, very well stuck, red liner tape is absolutely what you need just to make sure of that. You'll see me using my my tape pens quite regularly because I'm trying to do a quickie job on it. But if you're taking your time and you really want it to stick very, very thoroughly, red liner tape is the one you want to be using. Look, see, that's a little bit thin there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to one of my thinner pieces of the red liner. And this is why we do the mix packs with the different sizes, so that then I can come and I can put just a little thinner piece on here. And then I'm just going to peel the backings off. Right, all I'm doing for my envelope box is cutting into the edge and cutting out a little, snicket. I'm using the world's largest scissors ever. I'll cut to a smaller pair and I'll try and show you that again. Maybe it's on the close-up, okay? So in the bottom corners like this, what you're going to do is you're going to come straight in from the side. Then you're just going to cut a little notch out like this. And then what you want to do is just cut this tiny little bit out from the side, and the same from here as well. So we just cut that notch out beautifully. Just remembered I was going to do some nice inking around my thing before I put my acetate in, and I totally forgot to do that, Joe. So I might do it. Should we try and fudge it? Should we try and see what you would do if you forgot to do it and you want to add it in later?
I think it sounds like I think we need to do it just from a scientific crafty experiment kind of way,
Let's have a look then. So if I put this back in, I should be able to mask off the area that I don't want to ink. Right, what colour? Should we go with a nice pinky colour? So I've got some plum and, I think I'll go with plum and maybe it's a bit of pink tulip as well.
Oh, nice.
Right, so what I'm going to do, here we go. We'll go plum first from the middle. So I'm just going to pick this up. Yeah, look, I've totally pulled that off with a little bit of pink from round there. And then round here. Right, Joe, I can't talk and do all the rest, so I'm going to concentrate.
That looks amazing.
Yeah,
that colour.
I've totally managed to pull that one off. Brilliant. And then look, I'm going to blend the other pink down the bottom here so that it all blends off to the same shade. Now, this is blending on that Centura pearl. So, it's the double-sided pearl as well, so our envelope box is going to look really nice from the inside too. And I've blended that onto the pearl. So what happens is you get the colour showing through and you still see the pearl. So I've got the ombre of the light pink to the deeper pink. And then I've got the, let's get you to open there and we'll get this coming down the bottom. And then I've got the pearl of the pearl, so like the little speckle still showing through. So there you go. And then we've just had enough time, so I'll be able to colour in my little doggy now. So let's have a little look. If I bring my tri-blends in, Joe, I'm going to go with, should we do a little brown doggy? Should we get the golden brown shades? We'll get the deeper shades. Well, look, I'll go golden brown shades with golden brown blend so that we can do a deeper, thicker, or I can do his spots in one colour. Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the spots lighter. So I'm going to start off with the deeper one. Now this is Centura Pearl, so it won't blend as well as what it would have done if I was doing it on my Nina cardstock, but you'll still get a little bit of a blend on there, if it makes sense. Can you see? It's still going to blend around. It's just not quite as, it kind of sucks the ink out of your pen a little bit faster than it would do if you were doing this onto your Centura Pearl. Right, are we ready to stick this whole piece together now, right? So I'm going to stick my, I might as well use this lovely liner tape while we're here. Let's use this thinner one here. So all I'm going to do is take this and I'm going to put these down the flaps of my envelopes. And again, the red liner tape is really good if you're going down the flaps, especially if you're using like a pearlescent card like this one, because we're able to go down the flaps and be really narrow, because you only want to be at the very, very ends. So we've got that ready. Little bit of tape pen on the edges. So this is just going to go into those edges and then peel the backs off here. And what you'll see is we make it first of all as a box. So these two bits go into here and fold up as the box, right? And then these come in from the side and you fold up the bottom. So we're just going to make sure we do one side and then match up the other side, do the other side as well. That just folds over the back there. And there is my lovely little envelope box. Now, what I probably would do, Jo, just to be neat, is probably cut another bit of Centura pearl. Yes, you see, that's going to look much nicer if you cut a square of pearl and slot it in the back. And then you won't see on the inside, you won't see the kind of workings, but you'll still have the flap. Right, are you ready? So I'm going to show you how to do a Z-fold card. So I'm using my A4, but if you're working with 8.5 by 11, I'll just tell you how you can adjust it. What you need to do is fold your card in half. So because it's A4, I'm going to go at 5 7/8. That gives me the halfway point, okay? If you're working with 8.5 by 11, that would be at 5.5. Then we're going to score this half in half. So it's just one little notch before the 3 here. So that gives me, and this is that lovely Centura pearl, you're going to score, oh it's not, because this is just a single-sided one. You're getting the double-sided one. You've got an even better thing than what I've got, right? So there we go. So you've got the half fold and then the half fold again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to trim this off. So if I just bring in my guillotine, I'm going to trim this off to about 5.5 inches. Doesn't have to be exact, but about 5.5 inches just gives me a nice size card. So can you see that gets us our card there? And then what we're going to do is this one here, all you do with it is you flip it over, right? And it attaches to the bottom of your card here to make that Z fold. So remember that one? It's like this, and then all you're going to do is you're going to flip over the bit that's cut off and it's going to stick on the bottom of your card. Now this is the one that I'm going to do all of my work with, okay? So what I'm going to do is I've got my bunny and I'm just going to stamp the bunny. So we only need to stamp his head. Oh, I tell you what, I'll do the die cutting first. I'm going to die cut the word bunny and stamp the bunny. And crikey, these are stuck on really, really well, Jo. And then send it through. And because it's really small, Jo, I'm going to send it through the little Gemini Mini. So here we go. So you've got your bunny on there. It's going to play havoc with us that if I don't get that trimmed off perfectly.
I thought you were going to cut him off then for a moment.
No, he's not going. What I am going to do though is I'm going to stamp him now. So do you want to stamp? Do we want the front of him or do we want the back of him? We've got a request for the back here. So let's have a look. It can be peering in our little card. All you're going to do is a little bit of ink on the back. Again, we're going to use the tri-blend, so make sure you use your alcohol proof on here. And then that is just going to line up perfectly over the edge there. Look at that. It's so easy. Right. So here we go. Let's have a look. So for him, I would reckon we want the greys. So I'm going to get my ice greys out here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go... So how you colour them to be three-dimensional, you see? You're going around the outside, like this. And then we'll go from the outside, we're going to come into the middle one. And it's just taking, so can you see I'm still getting a blend, even though I'm not working onto the Nina cardstock, I'm still getting a bit of a blend. It just soaks it into the card a little bit more. Another reason why you would always want to try and use Nina cardstock, Jo, is what you'll find is your pens run out quicker. So, and that's the reason for me why I always use the right cardstock, because on the Nina card it's super smooth, which means you're going to get like they just sits on the top of the card and takes a little while to dry. Whereas when you use it into a cardstock like this, it soaks into the card a lot faster, and then it's not going to dry quite as fast, so it doesn't use up as much ink. So you've got your sum. To some, you're cute as a, there's no something like you. So you could have some bunny loves you. There's no bunny like you. Special, awesome. You could have some bunny is worried about you. How cute's that? So there's some really nice little designs on there. So there is my the front to go on the front of the Z. Here is my Z card, and what I'm going to do is just do a little bit of matting and layering onto the front of the card there. So when you're doing your matting and layering, if you're using your glues, you're going to use your Collal All-Purpose. I'm a bit gutted because I'm cutting me bunny off with me. Look, I'd already cut this ready and I forgot that I'd cut the front. So can we see I've got the front bit there. If I show you this from the front here, can you see we've just got, I put all these panels on and I've just already done a bit of embossing on these so that we've got like a nice little bit of decoration. There's my little bunny on the front. And then you know what I was saying about about having all the extras? I've got there's no. So we got there's no bunny like you. How cute's that? There's no bunny like you.